Hello, welcome to Make Kind Loud, conversations that turn up the volume. This week we have Frankie Simmons. Hey, Frankie, how are you?
Hi, I'm so good. So glad to be here.
I am glad that you're here. Thank you for saying yes. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, so excited.
All right, so I'm going to read your bio and then we're just going to jump right in.
Awesome.
So Frankie is an intuitive business coach, helping trailblazing entrepreneurs quit burnout to become high-achieving magic makers. After years of helping small businesses with marketing solutions, she's combined that experience with a passion for personal development to create and teach a signature blend of internal work and external action that leads to sustainable, joy-filled transformation for her clients. Frankie lives in Fort Worth, Texas, and would love to pet your dog. I love that. I love that. So that is awesome. So tell me what you mean by that.
Yeah, so basically I got into this business sort of by accident. I had been working on staff with different brands doing digital marketing stuff for them, and then worked with an agency for a little while, and then sort of happened into freelancing with that, and slowly just kind of started to put together the pieces of what I thought was really important for anybody looking to grow a successful business, which was, you know, a lot of mindset work and inner work, and then a lot of you know, learning the business tools and strategies that are really designed for you. And so with all of that, and not just to grow a business that works, but a business that makes you happy, that leaves you fulfilled, doesn't burn you out, like all of those important pieces. And so with that, I just started to kind of put together different services that I felt like could, you know, fill different needs for people in that, and sort of have evolved it since then, and has just been this really beautiful process of getting my hands on any tool I can to help people live their most fulfilled lives with their most fulfilled businesses. And so, yeah, my whole thing is about making sure that you get where you're going, but that you don't just achieve the goals, you achieve them with joy and with your mental health intact, and with all these other pieces of your life also working for you, so that you have the relationships you want, and so that your business doesn't just make you money, it also makes sure you have more fun, and like really having a holistic view of what it looks like for you to live your best life, basically.
I love that. So how did you start that? Like, that's awesome, by the way. That's amazing. And I love the concept of, you know, changing your mindset, not getting burned out, living your best life. Like, what drew you to that?
Yeah. Well, I think it started when I first started my business. I definitely was kind of coming at it from this view of like, okay, how can I find out the right marketing strategy or the right lead generation tactic that's going to bring people in, and thinking about it as kind of like a numbers game. And but I also at the same time had a lifetime of like crippling anxiety that was going into it and making every situation like really stressed out. And I sort of happened upon somebody that was like, hey, you can go get all the marketing help you want, but until you fix your mindset and until you are able to enter situations with less fear than you have right now, it's honestly not going to help you. And so I sort of started dabbling in some like mindset work and kind of working with these things, and saw just so much growth come from just that without changing anything else about my marketing. And so I sort of just like got really obsessed with like, how much can I help my external environment by just changing like what's inside of my head? Like, how much can I actually change? And along that process had so much happen. I also, alongside having anxiety, also had chronic illness. I had fibromyalgia for 4 years.
Oh, wow.
Actually completely cured from that along this process, was able to stop taking anxiety and depression medication, had my business growing, and then also was finding the friendships I want, the relationships I wanted, like all just from working to make myself a better person. Like that was where it started, and everything else sprouted from there. And it was just really exciting because I know so many people that feel like to build the business they want, they have to sacrifice their happiness for a couple of years and have to work 60 hours a week, or like just not care about anything else. And I was like, what if we didn't have to make that choice? Like, what if it wasn't an either or? And actually, the happier you were outside of your business, the more money you made. Like, what if that's the truth? And sort of used myself as an experiment to see if that was possible. And then once I started figuring out it was possible, it was like, great, how can I bring other people into this too?
That's amazing. And it really is about where you are in your own mind and
Mhm.
how you look at the world and how you see the world. And you chose to just say, you know what if I had a shift?
Yeah.
Let's see what that would look like. And
Yeah.
then it turned out beautifully for you.
Yeah.
I love it. So how have your clients been receptive to that?
Yeah, it's been really beautiful to bring other people into that work. And definitely I tend to attract people who are who have authenticity and being genuine and being honest and serving others as like their highest core values. And because of that, most of these people are very burnt out by the more traditional ways of doing business because it just feels inauthentic. It doesn't feel like anything that they would naturally do. And so with that, we get to bring people in and say, okay, what if you got to show up as yourself? And what if you got to, instead just like change your mindset, instead do this internal work and see what could shift from that. And so it just fits so much more naturally into the types of people that I tend to work with, which is so exciting because I think it's just like such a permission slip of like, you don't have to sacrifice any piece of yourself to grow this business. And for people who really wanted to do what they wanted to do, but felt like they would always have to be a little bit like less themselves than they wanted to have it succeed. It's just such an empowering, freeing concept to be like, oh, wait, I can do it this way. And it's just really exciting to watch people go down that journey.
I love that. And then just, showing up as yourself, that's a little scary. Like,
it is. Yeah.
And just being like, this is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Accept me or not.
Yeah.
And so I think people are a little scared of that. But when they choose themselves, it's just an amazing journey.
Yeah. It definitely takes a lot more self-trust to say, I can show up as myself and that can be enough to bring in what I want. It takes a lot more trust than looking at somebody else who's built a marketing plan or, whatever sort of strategy and like taking that from them, being able to say like, no, I think I'm the authority on how I want to run my business is risky because it requires you to have that self-trust. And then it's like, well, if this fails, then it was like me that failed, not that other person.
Right.
It's like, it's really daunting, but for a lot of us, it's like the only way because those other stuff like isn't even going to work. If you're somebody who really has, those core values of wanting to show up as yourself and wanting to be honest and impassioned about the things you love, like that other stuff isn't even going to work for you. So it's like such a risk worth taking in the end, but definitely scary in those first moments.
Yeah. And what you just said is amazing. A risk worth taking. Being yourself is a risk worth taking.
Yeah, it is.
Because you are unique. Like I just did a talk last Saturday and we were all born magical beings, right? And it's up to us to tap into that and to just say, this is who I am. And I am going to just show the world me, and that's okay because you are enough and you are worthy and you were born to do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
In every aspect, right? Not just in business, but in every aspect of your life.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it is like so important to accept that it is in every aspect because it's like you can't show up as yourself in your business if you're hiding from your relationships or you're sacrificing your health. And that's another reason why I think it's so important to take mental health and to take your general joy and fulfillment into account when you're building this business because the issues are so interrelated. Like if you are showing up small and fearful in one area of your life, that's the same way your potential clients are going to perceive you. And so it's so like as you're cleaning up that part of your business, you're going to find that you're also showing up as yourself in, your friendships and in your relationships, and you're loving on yourself more and taking care of yourself. And it's really beautiful because you just shift one thing and then like every other piece of your life is all of a sudden better because of it. Yeah, it's amazing.
I love that. So you're thinking about doing this whole road trip thing, right? Or is that still on the docket?
Yeah, the plans are shifting around, but yeah, it's a daily conversation about what we want it to look like. I'm really excited.
Yeah, so tell us about that. What's like when it happens, because it's gonna happen. When it happens, what is that gonna look like?
Yeah, so basically, my lease is up in July, and the current vague plan that's just kind of shifting around all the time is for me and a friend to actually just take some sort of extended road trip and just stay in different places in America for, a month or 2 weeks or however long as we sort of figure out, because both of us have lived in this area in DFW for our whole lives and are kind of ready to experience something different. And so I'm really excited about that, really grateful for the business I have because I can take it with me anywhere and not be held back. And it's really, another piece of that, like joy and fulfillment and freedom of like getting to do whatever I want, wherever I want. And so I'm, definitely really pumped to see what that looks like. Currently, like I said, it changes every day, but currently we're thinking we're starting in Denver and just kind of like hanging out there, seeing how that goes, and then going from there. And it's going to be quite the adventure. So everybody should follow along for sure.
I love that. Denver is amazing. I lived there for 5 years. Denver is beautiful. So that's a good place to start. Yeah.
Do you have any recommendations for Denver life?
Yeah. Get outside and see everything. Because Denver is all about nature and exploring, and there's tons of places to do that. So I can send you tons of places.
Yeah, I'd love that.
But, hiking is huge. I'll send you a list.
Yeah, great.
I love that you were just gonna go on this road trip across the country, wherever the wind blows, and you're just gonna be like, let's see what happens here and how people live here. And I love that. What made you, you just said that you lived in DFW most of your life, but what made you decide that, I'm going to take this leap to go and see the world?
I think it was kind of just a why not moment, honestly.
Yeah.
There's no real reason not to. And if I have the opportunity, like I might as well take advantage of it. And I mean, the benefit of being young and single and not like necessarily having anything, that I have to commit to or anybody else I have to include in those life plans. It just felt like the perfect time, I guess, to try something out. And and I know that at some point I want to probably live long-term somewhere that's not DFW, but I just don't know where and haven't tried it. So just a time to kind of like just sample around and see what happens. So and I'm also hopeful that I'll just learn a lot about myself. I think traveling and being in new environments like teaches you a lot about who you are and what's important to you. And so I'm just excited to like see what I discover along the way.
I love that. And I think it's going to be a great journey of discovery because like you said, traveling in and of itself is a journey, but to do that on like an actual road trip, and to live in different places for 2 weeks or a month, I think that's going to be exciting. I'm excited. Are you guys going to do like a blog or a anything to follow your travels?
We haven't really talked about it. I mean, we're both big on Instagram, so I'm sure it'll all be kind of like updated there. But I think there might be. I've had the thought of like maybe putting something in the works to like document things a little bit differently because I think it's going to be pretty fun.
Yeah. That is awesome. Well, I cannot wait to see that. That's going to be amazing. Yeah. So you tell us a little bit about yourself. You were homeschooled. So tell us about that and your siblings and how that impacted your life.
Yeah. So I was homeschooled. I have 4 siblings. All of us were homeschooled. And basically it sort of started just because my dad was in the Navy and we were living in Japan when my older brother was like starting his, school age years. And so my mom, instead of, finding a school in Japan, decided to see what it would be like to educate us at home. And so basically just kind of like went from there and never looked back. It was interesting. It definitely created a very tight-knit family unit of us spending all of our time at home. It's a very noisy environment to be in. But I think I definitely learned a lot about being, self-motivated and keeping myself on task, and also like taking responsibility for what I wanted to learn and how I wanted to learn it, because I didn't have, as many other people handing me, what that needed to look like. And so I think that's definitely something I've carried with me now into, if there's something I want to change, or if there's something I want to work on, knowing like nobody else is going to check up on you for that. Like you have to do it yourself, which is of course kind of how life works. I just got exposed to it a little bit earlier than some other people did. And so, so I'm really grateful for it. And I think it's I always say, you know, I think it's different for every kid, you know, what they need in terms of education. And there's ways that I look at it and I'm like, oh, it would have been fun to, you know, have a theater club or something to go to. But, you know, at the end of the day, like, I am who I am because of that, and like wouldn't change anything about it. So yeah, it's been quite the journey, and also really fun to watch all of my siblings go through the same journey and see like us all end up at different places because of it. So
yeah. And like you said, you guys are close, but you're all different. People, everybody's different. But so how has the other four adapted to being homeschooled, or what do you think that they learned from that as well?
Yeah. Well, one thing I think all of us learned was, you know, I think being homeschooled taught us that, you know, it's okay to take a different path than a lot of other people would. Because obviously we were doing something that's like a little bit outside of the norm, and I can see that in all of us. So like, obviously I'm doing something that's a little bit different than most people. My older brother actually currently lives in LA, and he works in the video game industry as a personality there. And so he's got a different job. My sister, after she graduated, she spent some time in Zanzibar over in Africa, and then she came back and like worked for a while. Then she went back to school. Then she like just finished nursing school and now is like doing a totally different job. And so, and that's just the ones that have like come out of college. And I'm really excited to see what my youngest two siblings, who are still like in college and high school, do, because it's been interesting to see how like each of us has just like taken those lessons and then just like done something totally our own with it, which I think is definitely the benefit of homeschool, is that it kind of like empowers you to like make a different choice when you need to. And so it's been cool to see all of us go on our little journeys.
I love that. And so how's your mom? Because your brother's about to graduate, right?
Yeah, he's about to enter his senior year after this summer. So yeah, I'm very curious to see what my parents do after, you know, almost 30 years of having kids in the house all the time.
Right.
They're empty nesters, but they've got a couple dogs, and they, you know, both have jobs now. And so I'm sure they'll keep busy, but it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
That's awesome. I love the concept of the way you described it, as it empowered you to make different choices. Like you didn't have to follow a certain regimen. Like if you didn't like it, you can switch it up a little bit, and that's helped you become the person that you are today, and allows you to go out and freely be yourself after, you know, doing the work yourself, because it took you a journey to get to where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's lovely to know that you have the tools to do whatever you need to do, but also along with that, it comes with some work, and like whatever it is, you got to work at it. And that's also, you know, something I think, again, we learned from homeschool, is just to like be self-reliant and like work on whatever we wanted to get done on our own. And so, I think it's been really cool and a good learning experience for sure.
I love that. What are a couple tips that you can give the people about living their best life, you know, living a life of joy?
Yeah, I think it all starts with taking responsibility for whatever is going on in your life. So like knowing that while it is not, you know, your fault, like whatever has happened to you, a lot of people take that and they hear like guilt around, you know, like, you know, I had a chronic illness. It was not my fault that I had a chronic illness, but saying like, it is my responsibility to decide what I want to do with that moving forward. And that whatever is going on in your life, you have the power to change, because I think
I'm gonna pause you for a second, because that's huge. That's huge. You know, it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility for how you move forward in life. Yeah. So like X, Y, Z might have happened to you, but what are you going to do now?
Yeah.
And I think that is huge right there. So and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to really put that in.
I love it. Yeah. And I think a lot of people look at the things that are going on in their life and they feel really disempowered about it, or they just assume that like, that's the way it is, and just kind of stay with it. And just knowing that whatever it is, whatever circumstances you're coming from, like there is always a possibility for change. And in fact, there's always the inevitability of change. Like the world is constantly changing moment to moment. Things are like automatically going to change whether you do anything or not. You just get to decide how. And if you decide to take advantage of that, like you can make a lot shift. And so I think just fully sitting in that and saying like, okay, what do I want to have be different? anything can change from this moment on. And then, you know, sitting down and doing the work. And also, I think it all like is just an internal journey of like, why do you feel like you're not in control of your life, and asking those questions. Why do you feel like maybe you don't deserve to have something better? What are you afraid of if you get exactly what you want? And like asking those questions are really the first step to seeing what's the work that needs to be done, and like what can we do to invite a little bit more joy in.
Yeah. And those are the hard questions, because, you know, ultimately when you grow, it is your responsibility to answer those questions, and no one else. And so, like you just said earlier, it doesn't matter what's happened. You have the power to flip that switch. You have the power to make a different decision. You have the power to do something totally 360 if you choose so. But that's up to you. And if you're willing to do the work to answer those questions and to really be honest with yourself about how you want to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. I love the work that you're doing, and I appreciate you for, you know, being your own guinea pig, first of all, and then bringing that out to the world and sharing that, because it's all about sharing your stories. It's all about being authentic and helping other people, because we're in this together, right? We're in this thing called life together. And if we're not here to make each other better, then what's the point?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you so much. I love talking to you. You're just such a light. I love it.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been so fun.
You're welcome. So we have had Frankie Simmons this week. She is amazing. She's all about living your best life, putting joy back into your life, answering those hard questions so that you can be the most authentic you there is, because no one is like you. And I appreciate you, Frankie, for spreading that message of joy and love and sustainability, really. So this has been Make Kind Loud, conversations that turn up the volume. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you guys next week. Have a great day. Thanks so much, Frankie.
Bye. Thank you.